Ever feel like you're falling behind on the latest tech, AI, and all the smart stuff in your life? That used to be me until I started listening to Kim Commando Today. Every episode is packed with the latest in tech, AI, security tips, and tricks. I just learned how to find hidden GPS trackers in a car. Look inside, but check the undercarriage for magnetic holders. Join the smart listeners who start their day with the Kim Commando Today podcast. That's Kim Commando Today, Komando.
The mighty and resilient Merrimack River, carving through the communities of our great region. My name is Linda Lorden, proud president of Merrimack County Savings Bank. And like the river that serves as our namesake, we're a constant yet ever-changing presence. Because to us, it's bigger than banking. It's about powering communities and putting people first. It's about knowing where you came from and where you're going. That's Merrimack style. Visit us at themerrimack.com.
You're listening to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, the show that proves no one stumbles upon success ever. With your host, Lou Need. Every Mondays and Thursdays, we deliver cold hard evidence behind the power of a robust morning routine. Get ready to be transformed by the renewal of your mind.
Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lou Need, and today I have the honor of introducing a wonderful guest to the show, Kim Troy. Now, she is the founder and CEO of Civilis Consulting, now a business advisory firm providing strategic sales, marketing, operations, and HR guidance to fast-growing businesses. So it's a all-inclusive firm that really helps take you to the next level. She has years of experience and she's the expert matter. And so I'm excited to have her on today. Kim, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Yes, I'm excited. Now, did you have HR background? Let's talk about your journey to before starting your own firm.
Yes, I did. So I spent the first, 25 years of my career in corporate America and held similar roles to what I do in my company now. Held roles in executive level roles in sales and marketing and operations and HR.
Yeah.
And I left that corporate world in the first part of 2002. And started my own consulting practice working with small businesses and nonprofit organizations, building that organizational capacity, just getting more out of their people and building good, foundational processes so that their businesses and organizations could grow. And I've been doing that ever since 2002. I built my own company doing that. So I have other consultants now that work for me as well. And I love what we do. It's very rewarding to be able to see the impact that we're having on those organizations as they continue to do more of what they do best.
Yeah. Since 2002, my goodness, how has business been? Some of the success and pitfalls during that time frame, because you've seen a lot. I mean, economy wise, you've seen the world change in that time span. How has it affected your business?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for us, it's actually been great because we tend to work with businesses that are in many ways pretty recession proof. So even when we've fallen on some of the hard times economically, it hasn't really affected our clients that much. And in fact, if anything, we've been able to help our clients sort of take advantage of some of those market opportunities. That's part of our expertise, is being able to help them see when they can take advantage of that. The other thing too is for the pandemic, it was a goal of ours to make sure that none of our clients went out of business. So we did a variety of creative things to help those clients. When that happened and the shutdowns happened, obviously many of our clients, as we're all businesses, we'd never seen anything like that before. So we kind of, just jumped in and helped figure out ways that we could work with them in maybe in some cases, ways that we'd never worked with them before, but it was a goal of ours to make sure that they didn't go out of business through that. And I'm very happy to say we had one client that had to scale back pretty significantly, but even that client is still in business. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty proud of that. Because again, none of us really knew how to navigate that. But again, that's kind of what we do. So it worked out pretty well.
What is a recession-free business?
Yeah.
What is that? What's an example?
An example is pest control. A client of, we a variety of manufacturing clients. Pest control is an example. They don't know, the pet, if you've got pests in your home or,
they don't take time off. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And if anything, that was, again, a way that we could kind of, capitalize on that in some ways, because now people were home more. And so they needed even, more residential pest control, at that time. So that's an example of a business of ours that doesn't necessarily ebb and flow with some of the cycles that the economy does. So
that's a good one. I'm trying to think what else could be. Attorneys.
Yeah. Physicians, we had clients who are physicians, and we work with them in their practice. And certainly that there were challenges, but new and different challenges. But again, that's another one where they certainly, haven't really significantly suffered through any of that. We've got clients who are in a retail space where food, for example, same thing. They don't have to. We all continue to need to eat. So we're just lucky that in many cases, a lot of our clients just didn't have to experience that. Not all of them. Some of them, we have an e-commerce client and they had some challenges, but we help them get through that. And like I said, some businesses, that we work with are more affected by difficult economic times than others, but it's our role to make sure that we work with them whatever the case may be. We help them to, whether it's to kind of batten down the hatches and get ready for the storm and be prepared to handle it adeptly and come out better on the other side, or in some cases, take advantage of that, pivot or, do some things to take advantage of what some of the changes are in the moment in the world.
You're working long term with these organizations. You don't just come in for a few months and then you out the door. You strategically, you put a plan together long term.
Yes. Yeah. We have some clients that we've worked with for over a decade. And yes, we become part of their team. We become part of their leadership team in helping them, make big strategic decisions, as well as just operational, tactical, day-to-day, getting the work done. So we play that role all the way from strategy, all the way through to execution to make sure that whatever strategies we're putting in place for them, whatever growth strategies we're putting in place, we, make sure that they actually get executed. And that's what we do. And we love that. We love that we work with them over that long period of time as a partner, really, in their business to accomplish the goals that we all set out together to do. So it's a lot more rewarding to stick around like that, because like I said, we can see the impact that we're having on their business, which is far more preferable for me as a consultant. I'd much rather be able to see the outcomes that we all are looking for and be around to actually, celebrate those. So I very much enjoy that part of it.
Yeah. And it changes too, because your different times of the business, different milestones, different growth strategies is necessary. What it is today varies in a 3-year, 5-year, heck, it might vary in 2 months. Right. So then you put on your thinking hat again and kind of do it. There's a process, I imagine, that you and your team put in place to actually show the leadership. So you just, whenever the need comes, you put that hat back on and start.
That's right. Yeah, we have some of our clients have acquired businesses over the course of our working together. So, that then becomes a whole new, a whole new approach and strategy that we have to build together and then execute that together if they're acquiring businesses. Or we've had a couple of our clients that have we've been through them through the whole cycle to the point that they actually sell their business. And so, which we love that too. We think that's really neat too, that, we really do get to see it, beginning all the way through its whole life. So yeah, so we love the idea. And again, that's why we work with businesses, with for-profit companies, as well as with not a lot of not-for-profits, but we work with them as well, because it's our goal to be able to make sure that the work that we do is actually having that impact. It's actually having an effect. In fact, I always say that you should realize 10 times whatever it is that you pay us in revenue every year. And we work toward that. When they engage with us, we say, look, our engagement with you should be worth 10x. We should be able to generate 10 times the revenue just by you working with us. So that is something that I feel pretty strongly about. And because we, that's what our goal is, we're working toward that. So it's very rewarding when we see it happen. So anyhow.
Tell us about the leadership succession work that you do.
Yeah. So like I said, we work with them on succession planning. Again, when we're working with them for the long haul, inevitably they're leaders in the business, particularly if it's, we mostly work with founder-led businesses or entrepreneur-led businesses. And, when we're with them for 10 years, usually at some point during that period, they're starting to think about what their next step is. Some of our entrepreneur clients start other businesses, or they start thinking about retiring. And so that becomes part of what we're doing, is to help them figure out who those next level leaders are. And we work with them to groom those leaders to be ready to take on the next level of responsibility. So a big part, like I said, because we're working with them for such a long period of time, a big part of our engagement is constantly grooming others in the organization to be able to take on those leadership roles. And in some cases, if we go in, like I said, to help them in one aspect, if we're helping them in the HR area, for example, sometimes what we do is we help them build out that HR department, hire the HR leader, get that HR leader on board, and then turn the HR department over to that person. And then we move on to some other aspect, some other area of their business, operations or sales or marketing. So again, we're there to help them continue to build capacity in their company so that they can continue to grow.
Yes, for nonprofit sustainability as well. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Tell us about some of the habits that you've had to put in place to be successful. How do you get up, dress up, and show up? What's your morning routine like?
Yeah, wow. Well, I'm very practiced at this because I've been doing it for decades. Certainly back in my younger years, I had a lot more. When you're younger, you tend to just sort of go on adrenaline, and you're maybe not as kind to yourself as you need to be. As I've gotten older, I've learned that I just can't be a good partner to my clients or to my spouse or to my friends or family if I'm not first to really taking care of myself. And it's hard because I have very high standards for myself and for my company. I give, 110% to every one of my clients. And so sometimes it's really hard to figure out how to carve out that time. But I've learned that I have to in order to be the best, that I can for them. So, I have some tricks that I do to do that. I use an app called Clockify, and I track pretty much every hour of every day of my week and month, and even including some of my personal my personal work, whatever that looks like, my personal time. And what that has done for me is it gives me, well, first of all, it gives me data to look at, which I'm a data person, and I like data, and I will change my behavior if I can see that data. And I can see when I'm getting out of balance, or when I'm not spending, enough time on myself, or I'm doing the things that energize me or kind of renew and recharge. So I've developed a system so that I make sure that when I've hit a particular capacity on the client side or on the business side, I know it's time for me to now take that, even if it's, a weekday or even if it's a evening. I know that it's time to intentionally do something for myself and do something that recharges me. If I wait until my body tells me I need to slow down, then it's too late. So,
Yeah.
right. So I do it with data and I do it with my Clockify app.
That's fantastic. It really is good to see to track where you're spending time. And so it almost the data helps you forecast, like, okay,
exactly.
There is a drop in the self-care piece of it. I'm about to hit a wall because of it.
Exactly.
I'm going to get burnt out really soon if I don't bring that back up, these numbers
That's
back
exactly.
up.
Yes, that's exactly how it works for me. And it's something that I started doing about 4 or 5 years ago. And I have been, all I can say is that, well, I don't get sick. I am probably the least stressed out that I've ever been over the course of my career.
Okay.
I am happy. And I'm not going to say that it's only, this is what's worked for me. I don't know that that's worked for everyone, but for me to be able to view my life and my finite amount of life energy that I have, and for me to be able to view it in that way and literally look at it on the dashboard has really been informative for me. And like you said, I mean, it allows me to be proactive and giving myself permission, to plan a day for myself or to go, or even to take a vacation. Those are things that in my past, I never really would have given myself permission to do. I would have felt like no, I've got this responsibility. I've got this obligation and I have to just give it my all. But knowing that end of the day, if I'm not well balanced, I'm not good to anybody. I'm not as good to my clients as I would be if I were in better balance. And so
I love that approach.
Yeah.
I love that approach about it. And that's the first time I think I've heard someone using that. It's using data to your advantage, using the data as part of your morning routine. That is unique within itself. Let's talk about some of the items that you take, you are tracking. Is it meditation hours? Is it workouts? How many walks did you do that day? Breathing exercises. Like, let's talk about the details.
Yeah. So I do some short meditations actually throughout the day. So rather than taking like 15, 20 minutes to do a meditation in the morning, I am pretty intentional about when I'm on my breaks or when I have, time in between a client or whatever, if I'm on my way to lunch or something like that. It's something that I've learned to do for myself over the years. I have this, I don't know what it's called, but where I can go sit in a quiet corner or just someplace. Doesn't even have to be distraction free. I mean, there can be noise around, but I go and sit in a corner and I literally turn everything off for myself. So I zero in on just a place on the wall or, some sort of thing that I can focus on. And I intentionally turn off the sound, for myself, right? Like I don't take it in. And I don't know what it is. It's something that I've learned to do as a way to reboot, I think is kind of maybe the way that I would say it is in my brain is I don't let anything in. I don't let my brain process anything. I turn it off. And I can usually do that for about 5 minutes or so. And then afterwards, I feel completely refreshed and totally ready to go back into whatever it is.
You're a brand new person. It's like you reset the brain. The same effect happens with a 10, 15-minute nap too. Like,
yes, exactly. And it's all I can explain it. I don't know what it is. It's just something that I've learned from myself. I imagine that it's like a meditation. It's just it's like a power meditation, right? It's just like a short little thing. The other thing too, when I'm thinking about how I balance out my time and what I consider to be like, my personal time or the way that I balance out my day or my week is it's very important to me that I spend as much time outside in nature as possible. That is something that has, again, for me, I know that when I am out in nature, it instantaneously puts everything in perspective for me. It reminds me that I'm part of a bigger and more amazing world than these four walls that I work within, in an office setting or within my car or what have you. So when I get out in nature, it's a way for me to instantaneously remember that I'm part of more complex and natural world that I don't control. And when you realize that you're in a space like that is bigger and more awesome, than the way that you go about your day-to-day business, it's very perspective building for me.
What happens?
So, yeah.
What happens? Is it gratitude that is generated? What happens for you with that insight?
Yes, it's gratitude in some ways, but it's also, I think, again, and we haven't talked too much about it, but I've spent a lot of time in very, very wild places in Southern Africa and worked with conservation organizations there. And it's like that, the work that I did there, we lived out in the bush and, worked with wild animals, and where we would go or where we were living, it was very rustic, very rudimentary and very, again, natural. You realize that you as a human are not in control of a whole lot. Life and death literally was playing out before us day in and day out. As humans, we are prey to most everything. And when we realize that, when we go through our day-to-day world and business, we tend to think that we're all powerful and that we're in control of everything, right? We can control the temperature, we can control our meals, we can control the people around us. There's a lot, we think that we are in control. And when we put ourselves in nature, especially if we put ourselves into very wild places in nature, we realize that we're not in control. That's an artificial construct that we've created for ourselves. And so for me, it sort of reminds me of that, and that it may feel like life and death if I'm on a conference call that's a contentious conference call, or, somebody didn't pay their bill this month or something. But at the end of the day, that's not really life and death. Life and death really happens out there, in the natural world. So that's what it does for me, is it just reminds me of that.
That is beautiful, because a lot of us live in chronic stress because the Zoom call later, or
right. Right. Yeah. And it does. And that is a very, when you able to sort of, embrace that reality, then for me anyway, I can go back then into, whatever the stressors are of the day, and they take a much lower priority after I've been outside. So, I can't go outside and be among, leopards and elephants, but I can certainly go outside and be reminded that there's this wild space out there, which is from where we all came, right? Yeah. And that, again, our day-to-day lives that we have built are kind of this artificial construct that we somehow have control over all of that. Yeah. There's something very liberating about realizing that we're not in control of everything.
That is freeing, because we live in a fight or flight state constantly. Right. And so yes. Our cortisol levels are at its highest, and adrenal fatigue comes out of that. And if you understand fight or flight, it's really what you're talking about, that wildlife where a lion is chasing you and it's life and right. death. You're going to die if you don't run. And so right. you kick into gear. But the same gear we take with us when we're stuck in traffic, or our, ever-ending yes. to-do list. And for me, I have a similar experience. I have a 6-month-old that we just gave birth. And so I realized how precious life is and how dependent, because I'm breastfeeding. And I remember watching a show on Netflix where a sea lion gave birth, had to breastfeed, but she had to go to sea to feed herself, because if she's not feeding, if she's not eating, then she cannot nourish her baby. Yeah. And I think about that story when I'm in the process of feeding, and how two parallel worlds. You know, how it may seem so different, but we're living in that state where I still need to do these things. I still need to make sure I'm fed so I can continue to feed baby, but I don't have to leave baby alone and go to sea for 5 days. And so sea lion don't even come back. That's fight or flight. You know?
Yes. That's
exactly. Life or death. Like you're living an infant behind. You may never see them again. They're really small because you may not make it back because something may happen while you're at sea trying to feed to make it back to your baby. So it goes to show you that analogy that you just shared with me makes you put things in perspective. Like, yes, not just gratitude, but in perspective. Like it's okay.
Right. Yes. I mean, exactly. I mean, how safe are, exactly. I mean, you're much safer than that poor sea lion, right? And your baby is safer than that sea lion pup. So, those are things that, like I said, when we don't necessarily think about those or have the sort of the trigger to realize that. So it's good when you can find something like that and kind of use it as your talisman or, some sort of touchstone as a way to kind of bring you into that other point of view. That's how we change our perspectives, I think.
Yeah, bring you back to real life, bring you back to reality, but also giving your nervous system a break so that it's not constantly just flying and just fear and overstimulated with, all the things that can cause you to be sick. No wonder you haven't been sick for 5 years.
Exactly.
You have the right mental mindset.
Yes, exactly. I mean, knock on wood, but yes, I mean, and I think that's again, I think it's all connected. I mean, there's something to be said about that. And, I mean, when we live in this constant state of fight or flight, when we feel, we think we've created this world where we think we are under attack and we're really not, but our bodies are kind of, and our brains are kind of made to keep telling us that we are and that we should be. Because, like I said, we are really prey. I mean, we really are prey. We're very vulnerable. We're very, we don't have big claws or big teeth or, we are very vulnerable in the natural world. And I think that our brains are just, I'm sure that they, they've evolved to be constantly looking for threats. And so that's just what we do. So in our case, threats might be that I can't get the good parking space in the parking lot or that, or that whatever, that I don't have a cute outfit to wear today or something. I mean, our brains are constantly scanning for that threat because we are naturally prey animals.
Yeah. Well said. I needed that reminder, that's button to remind me like, no, things are okay. It's all right. That it doesn't have to be in that constant fight or flight. So thank you for sharing, Kim. It's been such a joy hearing that insight. Tell us, how can we connect with you? Where can we find you?
Sure. Well, so my website for my company is civilisconsulting.com. That's spelled CIVILIS consulting.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm super easy to find. If you just Google Kim Troy LinkedIn, you'll find me. I'm super easy to find there. And then we have a company Facebook page as well as a company LinkedIn page.
Fantastic. It's been an honor sharing with you. And it's always good getting a new insight into things. And you've definitely done that for me today. And I appreciate it.
Thanks. It's fun.
All right, morning enthusiasts, that's it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you love the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes or Google Play. While you're at it, tell a friend about the show. Be sure to visit bestmorningroutineever.com and our Facebook group to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic free bonus content. Until next time,